Hey everybody, welcome back. And guess what? Inventory has actually gone up quite a bit. Well, 20%. And that sounds like a big number. It's really not that big. But the benefit is buyers and sellers, well, they're on the same page. We're going to talk about what the heck does that do with our inventory. We're going to talk about resales versus new construction versus REOs. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's get the show on the road. All right, so what we've got here, inventory climbs nearly 20% as Washington home buyers gain more choices. Now, this information is actually from the Northwest MLS. We do take their newsletter and we make that one of the shows each and every single week. We go in real time with some of the metrics. Now, what you're going to hear from the Northwest MLS are residential and condos combined. To me, those are they need to be separated. So the rest of our numbers, which aren't going to 100% match, are because we use residential separately and then condos separately. Now, condos right now, yes, without a doubt, they are dragging down the market because they're just not as desirable. People are looking at single family homes, and that's a seasonally normal type of correction that we're seeing. We are seeing I wouldn't say necessarily a correction, but we are seeing some softening of prices as we're going to get into that shortly. So as we kind of move along here, let's take a look at some of the information. It says, higher mortgage rates continue to influence buyer activity during July. 100% agree with that. Compared to July 2025, closed sales decreased 3.2%. Pending sales declined 7.2%. And the median sales price actually decreased 1.5% to $640,000. Now, super important. This is 3/4 of Washington state. So we combine that with the high performing areas like King County, Snohomish County, parts of Pierce, with some of the not performing areas. We talk about Okanagan, which is wide open spaces, Pacific County, things like that. So we blend those together for this report. And again, we will use those same counties, 3/4 of Washington state, but we will be breaking it down into residential a little bit later. So don't panic. All right, let's get back here. When we talk about key box activity, actually slowed down a little bit. Now, not unexpected, considering the fact that we have higher mortgage rates. Buyers, without a doubt, buyers are on the sidelines. They are watching. And it's so funny because some of our sellers are like, George, why don't they just come in and make an offer? Well, they won't. They actually will stay on the sidelines until the seller brings their price down to where it matches their perceived value. That is started back in 2020, where we started to see that kind of shift, whereas before, hey, people would come in, they would make an offer when it was listed or shortly thereafter, and start the process. Today, they wait until you get down to a price point that says, yes, that is going to work for us. So keep that in mind as if you're considering selling your home. Overpricing, well, doesn't work very well. All right, when we come back, it says our active inventory is up nearly 20%. It's like 19.5%. However, it is not matched by an increase in transactions, as both numbers of sales and medium prices dropped relatively to a year earlier by 3% and 1.5%. respectively. Now, again, that is one of the college folks that they go and get metrics from each and every month. We are seeing that little bit of softening. Does it mean that we're sinking with the tide of bull man? No, not at all. Not even close. The however is, for the first time in 6-7 years, we have a more balanced market between buyers and sellers. Now, some people are saying that looks like a price reduction, or that is a issue with pricing coming down, and we've got massive issues, and that's not the case. Our sales prices are still moving along. Our pricing is still even though in some areas affecting or pulling down the numbers, in King and Pierce counties, or King and Snohomish counties, they're actually in a positive trend. So again, don't let the global number of Washington State affect you, because each area has its little micro areas. You can see those reports on our site when we break it down by city and county. Anyway, with that, if we hop back in here and we take a look at the closed sales, look, we're only off 218 homes. And this is their condos and single family. So that's not a big deal. When we talk about a median sales price, they're saying, hey, it's down 1.5%, right? 1.5% is roughly about $10,000. That doesn't mean value. That's just the median what sold. But here's the thing. The counties with the highest median sale prices, look at that. We've got King County and Snohomish County, which are still going. And again, Ferry County, Columbia, and Okanagan, well, okay, so they're not faring so well, right? Ferry County faring so well. Anyway, all right, let's get on to the titles here. Look, we have another modest drop in mortgage rates. And I'll tell you, without a doubt, hands down, without a doubt, mortgage rates is having the biggest impact. And it's kind of interesting because our average mortgage rate from, I think 1971 or so when they started tracking this is 6.5%. And that's kind of where we're at. This week we came down a little bit, upper right-hand corner, you can see there, 6.74, it's a tad bit high. It's a quarter high than what our average is, but still, again, those are still good rates. And yes, there's opportunities and different options to bring that back down. So if we come back in here and take the bottom left, mortgage rate slightly higher. That was what came in on Friday. However, prices then again came back down. And then, of course, in the bottom right, my buddy Matthew Gardner, super smart guy. He's always fun to listen to and whatnot. And so he's half retired, but still does his thing. And definitely a good interview to listen to as he walks people through very similar information to what you're going through here, since he and I tend to kind of follow that same parallel. Anyway, get back to it here. One of the things that we want to take a look at is Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac, you can see the 30-year has continued up. Yeah, some of that volatility wasn't that great that we saw with our reporting. 15-year mortgages actually went down just a little bit. And when we take a look over here at the metrics of, hey, what have we got going on? Last week we were 6 days on market, longer than what we were before. Now, yes, when you take a look, it says 21%. Sounds like a big number, but it's really not because it's only 8 days. Last week we were 6 days. And then when we take a look at list to sales price, that's 96% versus 97% where we were at last year. That one is a little bit more concerning for us because what we're seeing is, again, some of that increased activity. Buyers are being definitely more aggressive on pricing. Sellers always want a little bit more, but because there is more resale inventory, we are actually seeing a pullback on that, which is not going to be beneficial for sellers. So that's why we're going to see here on the next chart a few more actual price reduction, which I call my whoops. So there we go. So here we have 1,225 homes that came on market, had 1,049 that went off market, about 125, 175 home difference there. Here's the funny thing, right? Friday is our biggest day. So Friday, when we talk about list dates, those numbers are always higher, but because we always do it on, Saturday videos, our numbers are always going to be consistent this way. And is that shocking? No. What is a little bit more shocking are the number of reduced prices. The however, sellers are starting to understand and not price that aggressively. And we are starting to see some of those timelines from 38 days, 41 days, 47 days start to inch back down, although we're 2 days higher than what we were last week. All right. So let's talk about what's going on in the Northwest MLS. Here we go. Now, here's the funny thing. What we've got going on right now, if we look at that green center chart, our sales are down 9.9%, 10% for the month of August. Now, it's only the 8th, and these numbers are actually from the 7th. But if we take a look at it, we're about 100 homes off. But we're also 3.4% higher, which is really not that big of a deal, considering it's just a little over 40 homes. When we take a look at the chart on the right, we're off 435 homes for the year. That's all of Washington State. That's not that big of a deal. All right. We're one home off from pended year to date. So, we're pretty much spot on. That number came down. But we're up almost 29% for pendeds over the month of July, for again, 7 days. Way too early to make any kind of, really remark as to what August is going to shake out to be, which again is going to be really related to rate. And center chart here, look, we're $21,000 less in average sales price than where we were at last week. About 3.8% down year over year for the same month of August. Look, we're down only $1,000 year to date. And again, none of these numbers are incredibly shocking in any way. Again, we see the median or average sales price go up and down every single week. The only thing that we have seen is in the last 3 weeks, we have seen that, tick down just a little bit, okay? Do I expect month end to tick back up again? Yes, and again, it will be 100% related to what's going on with rate. If we get rates back down to about the 6.4%, we're going to see a lot of buyers coming back out and off of the sidelines, even though the month of July, we saw quite a few at the tail end resale homes going pended, and that was pretty aggressive. That kind of waned a little bit in August, but we're starting to see a little bit of an uptick, so we'll see what shakes out of that one. All right, when we talk about new construction, so new construction itself, excuse me, center chart, you know what, we're only off 23 homes from where we were at last year, 16 pended, and year to date, they're only off 553 homes. That's 3/4 of Washington State. Still, that's a number that is a little bigger than what we would like to see. Nonetheless, it's not absolutely horrible. Pendeds are actually down 348 homes, and that will change as we get towards month end, only because we will continue to see month end deals being made, because that's the best time to buy new construction. All right. When we talk about pricing is actually up, which is absolutely fabulous. Year to date, it's only down $4,000 for the year. Again, make sure that you're working with somebody that absolutely negotiates and knows how to negotiate with new construction as you guys are taking a look at things. And if you are in the process of getting pre-approved, hey, look, make sure you watch the 5 questions to ask when getting quoted mortgage rates. Just saying, this way you know exactly what you're looking at, and that will be super important for you guys, because if not, it could cost you thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. Just saying. All right, we pop back here. Let's hit over to bank owned. Bank owned is pretty boring, all things considered. Although, look at that, pendants are up 1,000%. That's 10 homes. All right, that's pretty funny, because when you take a tiny number, excuse me, and times it by 10, it looks like a big number, but it's not. As you can see, our inventory and foreclosures, super low. Nothing big, nothing crazy is happening. There's a lot better investments if you're looking for a deal than looking at bank-owned homes, because we're one of the 5 sweet spots across the United States. We don't see massive discounts for bank-owned homes. They do paint, carpet, and vinyl, and they get market value for them. So we just don't have enough, even though we're about 3.5 months of total inventory. That just is, again, taking that pendulum and swinging it more towards center, so it's not benefiting buyers or sellers. So with that, it's an absolutely beautiful day. If there's anything about this video that you really liked or you learned something from, hey, do us a favor, give us a like and share the video. And if you're really feeling extra generous, look, subscribe to the channel. There's no cost, there's no marketing. It's just solid information. So in the meantime, you guys have an absolutely beautiful day, and I will talk to you later.